G. Welcome to the 2015 Week 1 newsletter. Today we have Sebastian Salvador from the Los Angeles 40-ounce Pounders.
Hello.
And Robert Wynn from the Chili Cheese Dogs. Welcome, Sebastian.
Hello, Robert.
So first things first, we're going to start talking about the Dirty Do at the Your Mother Shoulda Swallowed You match. The score to that was 128 to 108. Dirty Do came out with the win. How do you think that game went?
A common occurring thing between both of these teams is that they were very front heavy, as in two players almost accumulated for 50% of their scoring. And for your mom should have swallowed you, that would be Phillip Rivers and Travis Kelce, which was a surprising stud this week. But they both combined one for 24, one for 23 out of the 108 total points, which is, it's not to say that it's something bad, but that the rest of his team were all single-digit scorers. And the same thing for Dirty Do is where his two quarterbacks, Andrew Luck and Carson Palmer, both combined for one for 21 points and one for 31 points of the 128, which is a little less than 50% of the total points that he did score. But it did get him the win.
Yeah, and I would have to completely agree with Sebastian about that. The teams were both top-heavy, but they did produce some very, very nice performances. Dirty's top performer was Mr. Carson Palmer, back from that ACL injury.
Palmer.
Yeah, he had a solid 307 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. That was 31 fantasy points. And then Your Mother Should Have Swallowed You at his second round in the draft. He took Phillip Rivers. He is a good quarterback. He had 404 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. The 2 picks kind of hurt him, but he still put out a pretty good fantasy performance with 24.
Not bad for a second rounder.
Our second match we'll be talking about will be the Sweaty Balls, who were last place in 2014 at the fucking Dirtbags. Good old Roger. Sweaty Balls came out 1-0 after week 1 with a final score of 115 to 94 in this match. Sweaty Balls' biggest player and probably one of the biggest players in the NFL, Tom Brady, came out with some insane stats. He had 288 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. That's 35 fantasy points. And Roger, who would ever thought, he has Peyton Manning, Randall Cobb, Calvin Johnson. Nope, none of his top scorers. Andy Dalton, 269 passing yards, 2 touchdowns with 22 fantasy points. How do you feel about that game?
This matchup was really interesting, especially for Roger's team, who was second best scorer on the team was the Jets defense, which is not uncommon to happen, but he did score 21 points. And something in common for both teams is that they had lackluster performances. One, Joe Flacco versus the Sweaty Balls, who gave him 0 points, or got 0 points. And Owen Daniels for the fucking Dirtbags, who got 0 points.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so it was a tough week in there, but that's not unexpected of people in the first week to try to find their niche within their team. But I would have to say that the quarterback play was salvaged in each team by 1, Andy Dalton for the fucking Dirtbags, and 2, Tom Brady for the Sweaty Balls. So they did manage to get some points out of there. This was also another lopsided victory within the league. For our third week 1 game recap, we have the San Diego Pounders versus the Washington Centennials. The San Diego Pounders ended up winning that one 131 to 122. And in this comparison or matchup, we see that the top quarterbacking cores. The San Diego Pounders having Ben Roethlisberger and Sam Bradford combined for 35 points. And we have the Washington Centennials with Aaron Rodgers and Tony Romo, which is no surprise that is probably the most powerful quarterback duo in the league, combining for 56 points. But we at the other end of the spectrum, we see that the receiving core for the San Diego Pounders just completely blew out the Washington Centennials. That being said, Antonio Brown scoring 20 points, completely outscored Jeremy Maclin, Andre Johnson, and also Marcus Wheaton from Pittsburgh with 20 points alone. But luckily for the San Diego Pounders, that was enough to get the victory.
Yeah, so Antonio Brown, Roethlisberger, handcuffed. You know what? Personally, I want to stay away from the Steelers this year, but it looked like Willie went hard at them. That handcuff helped him out. He got 20 points, like Sebastian said, from both guys. And that Rodgers and Romo, 28 each, 56 points of 122. That's a lot of points from your quarterbacks. But I have to say that I think I was one of the first to bring the attention to people how important quarterbacks are in this league. And these are my 2 type of quarterbacks. Rodgers, I miss you, baby. But Alec, I see what you're doing, man. You're trying to take my players. You have Rodgers, you have Alfred Morris, you have the Packers defense. I mean, you're going to go get DeAndre Hopkins. So go ahead and try to do that. just take care of my guys. But I don't know if this year's the year to have those guys in the team. Keep this in mind. 25% of the points accumulated for these top scorers were all in the last drive of their game. That's insane, right?
That's a great statistic to have.
Yeah, good old garbage time. In our next match for week 1, we had Mr. McGiblets at the defending Infant Nuts champion, Mr. Mosqueso. Score to this one was 144 to 85. Mr. Mosqueso, with his performance this week, made him the 3rd highest in points for the season so far.
I'm surprised for someone who scored 2,000 points a season ago.
Yeah, but I wonder who number 2 and 1 were. But DeAndre Hopkins was a leading scorer for Mr. McGiblets with 9 receptions, 98 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 24 fantasy points. That guy really tore it up. But somebody else who tore it up pretty well was Rob Gronkowski. That was Mosqueso's leading scorer on Thursday night, NFL season opener. He had 5 receptions, 94 yards, 3 touchdowns. 3 out of the 5 receptions were touchdowns. 28 fantasy points. That's what Mr. Mosqueso received from him.
It's a solid performance from a tight end, which is not very common in this league. But something to contribute to 60-point lopsided win to Mosqueso was that 8 of his 11 players scored double-digit points. For Mr. McGiblet's team, we have only 3 of the 11 players who scored double-digit points. And that's not going to get you the win. Dominic has been notoriously one of the best drafters in the league.
Yes.
Due to the amount of transaction or lack of transactions that he does make and trades. But if he wants to get some more wins this season, he's going to have to hopefully, I don't know, maybe trade some players, get some free agent wire.
Dominic make trades?
Yeah, it's not something that happens very often, but it does. When it does, it probably will pay off for him.
Yeah, I believe in you, man. You can do it. Make a trade. And for the last game of the week, we have the game of the week, which is the Chili Cheese Dogs, the champs, at the Los Angeles 40-ounce Pounders. Final score to that, unfortunately, was 158 to 151. Los Angeles 40-ounce Pounders came out with the win. How do you feel about that game?
I feel amazing, but in this we get to see the depth of a roster win and what it could do for you. The score differential was only 7 points, but it's unfortunate for Rob that he just happened to be playing someone who outscored him. But if he had been playing anyone else in the league, he probably would have came out, or he definitely would have came out with that victory since he was the second leading scorer of the week. But something to highlight here is that we get to see that the way Robert builds his teams is a 2-quarterback system, and I haven't completely bought into that yet, but I pride myself among the running backs. But here we see 2 different types of styles of roster building or drafting going heads up. And I fortunately for myself got the victory, unfortunately for Robert, but we'll see how that pans out during the end of the season.
You know what? I won a championship, and I can tell you that the only way to win it is by beating guys like this. So once you can really make that something you know how to do, beating teams like this, then you get yourself a championship. Alec, Willie, you know what we're talking about. But the top scorers here for both teams, very impressive, down to the Monday Night Football game. I mean, I thought I seriously had a chance. Then my boy Julio takes off for 9 receptions, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. It gets me 27 fantasy points. We have the second Monday night game. Good old Viking Niner game. So boring. Just insanely boring. But I have to still watch Carlos Hyde take down my team. Julio Jones was the number 1 receiver last week in fantasy football. Number 1 running back was Carlos Hyde. 26 carries, 168 rushing yards. And you see that dirty whoop, that spin that he did. That was vicious, right?
The goal line spin,
oh,
yes,
yeah.
sir.
2 touchdowns. That accumulated 29 points for Los Angeles 40-ounce Pounders and also gave them the big W in their favor.
Something to mention really quick is that me and Robert both went into that game blind. We didn't watch the scores through the ESPN app or any kind of scoring system at all. And we wanted to enjoy the game as much as possible without the stress of knowing who's actually winning or losing. But in the end, we didn't find out until the last drive came to an end. And fortunately for me, I came out with that win. I was able to squeeze it out, much needed in my subdivision.
Fun fact, you guys probably don't want to see us play again this year, but if we do, the only way it could be
championship game.
That's right. So this game of the week for week 2 is going to be Mr. Mosqueso on the road traveling to LA to visit the 40-ounce Pounders. But keep in mind, this is the only match this week where both teams are undefeated, 1-0, playing against each other. ESPN projections have it at 141, 134 for Mosqueso. His actual score right now, because it's Friday night, is 31 to 14. Mosqueso has the lead. How do you feel about another game of the week match?
To be honest, I'm gonna have to roll the dice here and bet, like I always do, for myself to win the game. Even though I'm down 31-14, James just had an incredible performance from the Broncos D on behalf of Jamal Charles fumbling in the last seconds of that game. But hopefully I could get some more points for my quarterbacks. Maybe my running backs will go off and my defense will be able to keep up with the Broncos defense, which scored 22 points. But here I get to see my thin receiving core. Hopefully they can give me some points there as well. But I'm going for myself for the victory.
I definitely think that this is going to be this week's highest scoring game overall. I mean, they are number 1 and 3 in scoring so far this year. But one of the things that I think Mosqueso returns or has as a favor is that his Dolphins. He has 3 Dolphin players playing against Jacksonville. Now I know Sebastian has Drew Brees playing against Tampa Bay. Saw what our boy Mariota did against them. But the Dolphins, they do not like the Jaguars, and they're going to destroy them because they really do hate them. That's another story for another time. But I would say Mosqueso gets the win here just because Dolphins versus Jags game. Lot of important stuff going on for that match.
Jaguars and Dolphins are natural rivals in the nature.
That's why they don't live together.
Right.
So with that being said, that's the newsletter for this week, and good luck, gentlemen.